Welcome to Mafia True Crime Stories, where every silence hides a secret. Here, we don't glorify crime, we unmask it. Each episode takes you deep into the minds of real gangsters, men who built empires on loyalty, fear, and fate, and lost it all the same way. From quiet dons to ruthless street legends, every story here is told with truth, tension, and the calm before the gunshot. So pour yourself a drink, dim the lights, and let's step back into the world where every whisper could be your last. They called him the Gentle Don, a man who built an empire without ever raising his voice. Before we dive in, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more stories like this one. Philadelphia, 1940s. A thin man in a gray fedora walks past the Italian market at dawn. He doesn't look like a gangster, no flash, no gold, just quiet steps and steady eyes. Angelo Bruno. The son of a Sicilian bricklayer who believed in work and respect long before he believed in fear. He used to say, "You don't need to yell to be heard. You just need to listen longer than the other guy." That philosophy became his armor in a city where every word could get you killed. At night, he'd sit on his row house porch, hands folded, watching neighbors come home from their shifts. No one knew that behind those quiet eyes was a man studying every pattern, who paid cash, who owed, who feared what. That's where it began, his education in human nature. He didn't know it yet, but that stillness, the thing that made him seem harmless, would one day make him the most dangerous man in Philadelphia. And some men never forgive a quiet ruler. South Philly, late 1940s. The city smelled of coffee, rain, and concrete. Bruno wasn't born into power, he earned it one quiet favor at a time. While other kids played dice on the corner, Angelo helped his father lay bricks, learning rhythm and patience from mortar and stone. He was 20 when he first met the men who ran the docks. They liked him, not for muscle, but for manners. "You listen good, kid," one of them said, lighting a cigarette. "That's rare around here." Bruno only nodded. He always did. He kept his suits plain, his tone calm. No shouting in bars, no flashy cars, no gossip. He believed chaos was bad business. While others chased attention, he studied silence. His rise didn't come from violence, it came from reliability. When you gave Angelo your word, he never forgot it. When you broke it, he never forgave it. In a world of wolves, he learned to move like smoke, unseen but everywhere. At church on Sundays, he'd kneel beside his wife and whisper prayers for peace, then meet killers by Monday. He thought balance was strength. But balance, in that world, never lasts long. And someone had already noticed how calm he was. 1950s, the war was over, but Philadelphia was hungry again, for money, for territory, for control. Angelo Bruno started small. Cigarettes, construction deals, and a few quiet partnerships that no one needed to write down. He never pulled a trigger himself, he didn't have to. People worked smoother when they wanted to please him. His meetings were never loud. A diner booth. A slow cup of espresso. A single nod. That was how empires began, one calm agreement at a time. Violence, he'd say, stirring sugar into his cup, is like salt. A little gives flavor. Too much ruins the meal. Men who once dismissed him as the priest, too gentle, too polite, now waited for his approval. He didn't threaten, he reasoned. And reasoning with Bruno always ended the same way, his way. By the late 50s, the Philadelphia underworld had changed shape. The gamblers, the loan sharks, even the city's politicians, they all moved carefully when Bruno entered a room. He'd become the diplomat of the American Mafia, a man who could calm New York bosses with a glance. But the higher he rose, the thinner the air became. And quiet power always makes the loud ones nervous. Early 1960s. Philadelphia was divided, blood on the corners, money on the tables. But in Bruno's world, everything moved in harmony. No street wars, no headlines. Just business. He ran his empire like a church service, orderly, respectful, predictable. At dawn, He'd walk his garden behind the modest brick house in South Philly, roses, mint, a small fountain. His neighbors waved, they thought he sold construction supplies. He smiled, watered his plants, then met city councilmen over breakfast. He built peace through profit. If everyone made a little money, no one had to die. That was his philosophy, the Bruno doctrine, the underworld's code of calm. Why spill blood, he once told a young capo, when fear tastes the same. New York bosses trusted him. Atlantic City paid tribute. Even the FBI called him the Gentleman Don. For over a decade, he ruled without a single public murder order, something unheard of in Cosa Nostra. But power built on peace has one weakness: envy. The young ones wanted action, not patience. They called him Old Man, whispered that he'd gone soft. Angelo just smiled and said quietly, "They'll learn. Time teaches faster than bullets." But time was about to test his own lesson. Late 1970s. The calm that once protected Bruno began to tremble. His peace had made others rich, but it also made them restless. Younger capos wanted more than quiet envelopes in business meetings. They wanted headlines, expansion, blood. One night, at a small restaurant on Broad Street, one of his lieutenants slammed a glass down. "We could be making twice as much if we took over Atlantic City ourselves." Bruno didn't raise his eyes. He simply said, "And twice as dead if we do." The table went silent. He paid the bill and left, slow, unbothered. Behind closed doors, though, loyalty thinned. Men who once toasted his name now whispered about his old ways. Even the commission in New York began to see him as too cautious. Bruno's refusal to allow drug trafficking, his biggest stand, made him look outdated in a new, greedier America. He believed heroin would destroy the Mafia's soul. The others believed it would make them kings. The streets started to hum with a sound he hadn't heard in decades: impatience. And in that hum, someone was already writing his eulogy. Because in the Mafia, peace is never permanent, it's just a pause before the storm. By 1978, the walls had ears, and Bruno knew it. Every phone line, every friendly smile at the diner could be wired. He'd stopped using his office, preferring to walk slowly around his block instead, talking in riddles and half-sentences. "Beautiful weather today," he'd say to a driver passing by. The man knew that meant, "Lay low, they're watching." The FBI had been patient too. They called him #1 target, recording his movements, his meetings, his tone. But the irony was, the Bureau never caught him doing anything. He didn't threaten. He didn't order hits. He didn't even raise his voice. His power was invisible, like the air itself. Still, paranoia began to slip through his calm exterior. Old friends were questioned. A nephew disappeared for weeks. Rumors said he'd flipped. Bruno pretended not to care, but each night, his prayer got a little longer. He told his wife, "The hardest part isn't being hunted. It's not knowing who's pointing the flashlight." He started leaving his porch light on, not out of fear, but out of ritual. It was his way of saying, "I'm still here." But even light attracts moths. And one of them was already too close. March 1980. Philadelphia nights were still cold enough to make your breath visible. Bruno sat in the back seat of his car, parked outside his home after a dinner meeting. The street was quiet, too quiet. A neighbor's TV flickered through the curtains. Somewhere, a dog barked once, then stopped. He was talking softly to his driver, John Stanfa, about a meeting in New York. "We'll keep things the same," he said. "No chaos, no noise." A shotgun blast shattered the silence. One shot. Through the window. Angelo Bruno slumped forward, hat still on, mouth half open as if he were about to finish a sentence. The man who'd spent his life avoiding blood had just joined its history. No guards, no gunfire, no war, just a clean, cold ending on his own doorstep. Within hours, the commission knew. Within days, the city divided. Some called it justice. Others, sacrilege. No one spoke too loudly about who did it, because everyone already knew. His own people had grown tired of peace. And the moment his body cooled, the rules he built began to melt with it. The gentle dawn was gone, and Philadelphia was about to remember what chaos sounded like. Death didn't end Angelo Bruno's story, it only echoed through the cells and corners he once ruled. The FBI swept in like vultures. Files opened. Friends flipped. Every man who'd ever shaken his hand was now sitting under fluorescent lights, sweating through questions. John Stanfa, his loyal driver that night, was locked away, the only living witness to the murder of the gentle dawn. They called him the man who drove the ghost. In prison, Stanfa kept quiet. He read the Bible Bruno once gifted him, its spine cracked, his fingerprints smudging the same pages. Meanwhile, the city devoured itself. Without Bruno's restraint, young bosses declared war. Gunfire became the new language of Philadelphia nights. The peace that had lasted 15 years vanished in 15 hours. In those prison walls, even the killers whispered his name, half in guilt, half in longing. "He kept us all alive," one inmate muttered, staring at the ceiling. "We didn't know it till he was gone." Outside, Bruno's grave grew moss. Inside, his silence became legend. He was gone, but his way of ruling, calm, patient, merciful, haunted every man still standing. Even in isolation, his ghost commanded more order than their guns ever could. Years passed, and the world moved on. The men who'd once defied him grew gray and bitter, their empires shrinking into prison walls and broken families. Yet Angelo Bruno's name, whispered in cafes, on street corners, in old FBI briefings, still carried a strange reverence. To the new generation, he was a myth. The gangster who kept peace without pulling a trigger. The boss who made the city breathe easy, and paid for it with his life. In South Philly, the house on 10th Street still stood. Different family now. Children played on the same steps where he once tied his shoes. The porch light he used to leave on still glowed at night, a soft reminder of how he ruled, gently, but absolutely. Bruno's way, they called it in the underworld, a phrase meaning order through patience. Even FBI agents admitted off record, he was the last of the old gentlemen. But legends don't rest easy. His name carried a question: was peace ever possible in a world built on fear? Even in death, he seemed to answer, softly, without sound. Because the real power was never in the gun, it was in the pause before you pulled it. If you walk through South Philadelphia at night, you can still feel it, that quiet weight in the air. The kind that doesn't threaten, it reminds. The kind Angelo Bruno carried everywhere he went. He believed power wasn't about fear, it was about restraint. A man who shouts, he once told a young associate, is already losing the argument. And maybe that's why his story endures. Because in a world addicted to chaos, his calm was rebellion. He built peace in a violent business, loyalty in a selfish world, and respect without spectacle. And though he died the way he lived, quietly, his principles outlasted the men who betrayed him. His lesson? That control isn't domination. It's discipline. That silence can be the sharpest weapon. He outlived the world he built, not because he was lucky, but because he never broke his word. So the next time someone mistakes your calm for weakness, remember the man who ran a city without shouting. And if this story moved you, don't forget to like this video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more gangster stories like this one. Because some legacies don't fade. They whisper.